Ty, it's been a while, but I think it's time. I think it's time for the Titletown Rumble. Something we've been building up and working on for the better part of a year. If for our original listeners, for the people that have been with us since day one, last summer during the dead period, which we are in right now, me and Ty sat down and went through position by position the greatest players in the history of the Packers. If you go back, I encourage you to go back, listen to those episodes. Really fun stuff, fun stories, stuff you've probably, most modern fans probably don't know about certain players. Guys like Don Hudson. Going back go back and listen to what a beast this guy was back in the leather helmet days. And, he way ahead of his time. Arguably maybe the greatest Packer of all time.
Yeah, I mean...
Wouldn't you say?
It's very possible. Mike was gracious enough to buy me one of the best t-shirts that I've ever owned. It's green and it simply says on the chest, Don freaking Hudson. It doesn't get much better than that. And, I mean, this is a guy who still has records that stand today. He did it as a wide receiver in an era in which you didn't pass the ball. Don Hudson is one of the few players that you can really look at and say, damn, that guy changed the game by himself.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time, a real trendsetter, real trailblazer, if you will. But we covered him during our wide receiver section of last year. We talked about him, the Donald Drivers, the Sterling Sharps, the James Loftons. All these players will be available in the Titletown Rumble. And on our next episode, it'll be a very special episode. Something fun for everyone. Bring the women, bring the kids. The midgets are wrestling tonight. I don't know. But there's this great poster that somebody posted on Twitter a while back. It was just like an old wrestling poster from like the 50s, and it says, "Bring the women and bring the kids. The midgets are wrestling tonight." And I was just like, wow, that's very 1950s right there. But yes, the Titletown Rumble.
It doesn't get any more 50s than that.
The good old days. But the Titletown Rumble will be our next episode. We built it up all summer last year. We never got to it because the season just kind of came in with a quick, swift kick in the ass. We got to the preseason, to the regular season, and we never got a chance to do it. We talked about doing it as possibly a Christmas special. We've talked about it a number of times that never got around to it, but I think enough time has passed. The time is now, and we're going to do it next week here on the show. So between now and then, whenever you're listening to this to whenever the next show drops, go back and listen to some of our older episodes during last summer where we really dug into players in Packers history that everyone should know about. The greatest players to ever don the green and gold. Check it out. But the Titletown Rumble next week. And the rules are this. The Titletown Rumble, me and Ty, it's basically going to be an all-time Packers draft. Now, last year, me and Ty chose our teams. We didn't choose our teams. We chose our coaches. Who are we representing?
We are coaches.
Ty decided to represent Team Holmgren. He will be representing Mike Holmgren and the West Coast offense that Holmgren brought to Green Bay and helped bring us another championship after about a 30-year dry period. And I will be representing the great... Go ahead.
And to be clear, this was not based solely on head coach selection. This was based on head coach and staff. For anybody that's listening, this is a comprehensive coaching staff selection.
Yeah, so not only is
and it was a
not
very
only is Ty
difficult
representing
choice.
Holmgren, but he has Jay Gruden in his corner. He has Andy Reid in his corner. He has Mooch, Steve Mariucci in his corner. A lot of great coaches. hard to argue against Holmgren, because I think, didn't you have the first pick? Didn't you have the opportunity to pick first in that? And you went with Mike Holmgren over Lombardi.
Actually, yeah, and it was between, what really did it for me was Holmgren, his coaching staff of John Gruden, Dick Duran, Steve Mariucci, the Mooch himself, Andy Reid, Ray Rhodes, and that Fritz Shurmur defense, man. That Shurmur really put it over the top for me there too. So it's just the comprehensive, not Holmgren by himself as a coach over Lombardi, but the sum of all those parts being something truly great. So,
your team Holmgren. I'll be representing the great Vince Lombardi, arguably the greatest coach of all time. The name that's etched on the Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi trophy. So it'll be interesting because I don't know if I'm gonna go strictly to Lombardi's strengths in terms of the sweep and all that. It's really up to interpretation. It's really up to us on how we want to shape our teams for our coaches and our coaching staff. And it'll be up to you guys. Once we select our teams, we'll put them on Twitter, put them on Facebook, put them up anywhere and everywhere, and we'll have a fan vote to choose who picked the greatest all-time Packers team of all time. Now, the rules of the draft are simple. Well, we're going to pick 11 players to make up each of our rosters on each side. We'll each draft one quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and the 2 running backs can include fullbacks. So if you want 1 running back, 1 fullback, or if you just want 2 running backs, both count in the same. So you got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and of course left tackle, left guard, right guard, center, your 5 offensive linemen to make up your starting 11 for your all-time Packers offense. Defensive-wise, 2 edge rushers, 2 defensive tackles, 3 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties to make up your 11 on defense. And, of course, we'll pick 1 kicker, 1 punter, and 1 return man. And, yes, folks, if you go back and look at the old shows, we did an entire episode on kickers and punters because, Ty, kickers are people too.
Kickers are people too.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a live draft. The draft will be snake style. So let's say, for example, if I get the first pick of the draft and I get my selection of any player in Packers history, must be a former player. Current players are not available. So we couldn't draft Aaron Rodgers or Jordy Nelson. It's got to be a former player that's not in the league anymore. So if I'm Coach Lombardi and I get the first pick, Ty will get the second and third picks, and then I will get the next 2, and then Ty will take the next 2, and that's the way the draft will go down next week. And like I said, there will be a fan vote on Twitter. We'll put it out there on Facebook. We'll put our Twitter handle on Facebook. We'll put it out there on our YouTube channel. Anywhere and everywhere, we will direct you to our fan vote. It'll probably go for about a week or so. We'll hype it up for our listeners, so they know who's on whose team, and the winning team will. What kind of prize are we going to award ourselves?
Huh. You know, that's always a tough question. I know we generally give out a mystical, imaginary ticket to the Clay Matthews sack party for green and gold pasta. But this time
how about
around,
a coupon for
really
the all-you-can-eat BJ Raji buffet and yoga studio? That'd be a nice little nice prize.
yeah, that would be a hell of a trip, right?
But anyway,
there.
it's going down next week.